What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
We may be powerless to prevent it.
Minamoto, ever worried, projected his thoughts into the future. While his duty centered on guarding the imperial palace, a conflict between the emperor, his wife, and Velgrund could have disastrous consequences. Perhaps his worries were not excessive, as he constantly considered the safety of the entire court, a contrast to Tensei, whose sole focus was protecting the emperor. Nevertheless, Minamoto felt compelled to address Velgrund's recent inquiry.
Allow me to elucidate. Our empire, the Empire of Japan's conquest, currently faces an exceptionally precarious situation regarding the adversaries we are aware of.
While the term empire typically referred to a collection of states governed by an emperor, in the Empire of Japan's conquest, it carried a unique nuance. Here, empire was a reverential term, passed down through generations, denoting the island nation in the eastern part of the world. The sovereign ruler and the defenders under his command shielded the inhabitants of this nation from those aligned with malevolence. However, beyond the confines of the country, the global situation was immersed in profound disorder. To the east, there lay the empire. To the south, the United States of Azalea. To the north, the Great Rosium dynasty. To the west, the Sacred Arcean Empire. And centrally, the Federation of Chinese Territories. These five powers had ascended to become dominant figures in their respective sectors. In the not-so-distant past, they engaged in cutthroat competition for worldwide supremacy, yet with the passage of time, a certain equilibrium emerged. As they vigilantly observed each other, anticipating the decline of rival forces, they unintentionally developed mature international economic ties. On the surface, the specter of war had dissipated, and an epoch of tranquility appeared poised to unfold. However, lingering national discontent over neighboring influences persisted, and gains for some meant losses for others. This dissatisfaction simmered beneath the surface, and 4 years ago, it erupted. The catalyst occurred when the Federation of Chinese Territories grappled with an extensive drought. The scarcity of water resulted in famine and widespread outbreaks of illness. Inevitably, dissent arose, but the Republic's authorities redirected this discontent outward to safeguard their own interests. Now, the entire world was embroiled in the conflict. As their initial move, the Chinese directed their focus southward to a region abundant in grain production. The National People's Council unanimously endorsed an invasion of the United States of Azalea, marking the commencement of hostilities. In an instant, the entire world became a theater of war. Responding swiftly to the Chinese military maneuvers, the Great Rosium dynasty up north initiated their own incursion into the Chinese mainland. Their objective was evident: to secure territory for agriculture and a warm water port. Although the region grappled with an intense drought, the belief was that it would resolve itself in a few years, prompting Rosium to revert to its historical pattern of conquest. Predictably, the Chinese did not passively endure this. They consolidated their remaining forces to counterattack, plunging the entire nation into a state of war. This was the juncture at which the Empire of Japan's conquest became entangled. Dependent entirely on the Chinese fiefdoms for their food supply, they were compelled to mobilize their military to the Republic under the guise of a humanitarian mission. In the pursuit of a swift resolution to the war, this decision was made, but it sparked anger from Great Rosium, straining Japan's relations with Azalea. Japan found itself compelled to align with either Azalea or the Chinese, ultimately siding with its primary source of food. Initially, the Sacred Arcean Empire remained passive, but the semblance of peace endured for barely a year. The empire soon grappled with a severe famine, compelling it to cease the assistance it had been extending to other nations. The grim developments continued with an incident at an oil storage facility, and the ensuing fire depleted the empire's fuel reserves for 3 years. Clues left at the scene pointed to saboteurs from Rosium. The public sentiment took a vehemently anti-Rosium turn, propelling the empire toward military action. Doubts about these events lingered in one individual, Pulcinella, the mad priest and leader of the Holy Spiritualist Church. Spiritualism, counted among the world's 3 major religions alongside Buddhism and the Free Path, saw Pulcinella, its foremost figure, articulate a vision revealing a malevolent force working behind the scenes. Affiliated churches nationwide initiated investigations, ultimately tracing the alleged involvement of a Yoma. But by then, intervention proved futile.
So, this Yoma manipulated people's desires and fueled long-standing grievances?
Regrettably so.
Minamoto responded.
Upon reflection, the sequence of events seems overly convenient. However, once the populace's anger ignites, extinguishing the flames becomes a formidable task.
And it wasn't just the spiritualist church.
Tensei added.
Within a year, leaders worldwide caught wind of this anomaly. Yet, military extremists abound. They took action in response to enemy sabotage, and by the time we recognized it, the war had become unstoppable.
Similar predicaments plagued other nations. Present circumstances deviated significantly from the intentions of the top brass. Recently, in the ocean, a massive fleet from the United States of Azalea engaged in a monumental naval battle against the conquering empire's formidable imperial navy. The outcome was defeat. Preliminary intelligence indicated parity between the two forces, but as the conflict unfolded, the Azalean fleet exceeded their anticipated size threefold.
The Chinese fleet orchestrated it all. They betrayed us, and regrettably, their motives are far from aligning with our desires.
The Chinese commanders remained oblivious to this act of betrayal, leaving Japan's intelligence apparatus without a chance of detection. It became apparent only when it was too late, resulting in severe damage to their military forces. However, the defeat yielded a significant piece of intelligence.
I have crucial information my student risked his life to acquire. Kondou, a man who valiantly sacrificed himself in a glorious suicide attack on the enemy fleet, transmitted a telepathic message just before his demise. It revealed that the enemy commanders fell under the control of an unusually fierce Yoma.
According to Tensei, both Azalean Supreme Southern Fleet Commander David Reagan and Chinese Eastern Fleet Commander Li Jinlong utilized mysterious, mystical powers to thwart Kondou. Recognizing the hopelessness of the situation, Kondou persisted in gathering intelligence until contact was ultimately lost.
But now,
Tensei solemnly remarked,
I fear his sacrifice might have been in vain.
Upon hearing this, Velgrind immediately grasped the situation. The Kondou mentioned by Tensei could be none other than Lieutenant Tatsuya Kondou, a familiar figure to her. It occurred to her that Kondou's concern for Rudra stemmed from Rudra sharing the same essence as the emperor he had once served. Perhaps he had instinctively sensed the shared soul between Rudra and Akira Sakura. For the first time, Velgrind felt a genuine connection with Kondou and firmly believed in his unwavering loyalty. Now, Velgrind contemplated not only Rudra's lingering regrets but also those of Kondou. Reflecting on Kondou's frustration about being unable to protect his homeland, she realized that he had gone to great lengths for Rudra to avoid any regrets. It compelled Velgrind to question if there was anything she could do for Kondou. Even at this late juncture, she saw only one course of action: to atone for his regrets. With her decision made, Velgrind engaged more attentively in the conversation, Minamoto continuing oblivious to her internal reflections. The Yoma wielding the power to inhabit people's bodies was promptly reported to the world's top leaders. However, these leaders, situated away from the front lines, struggled to identify the individuals under control. Suspicions could arise if someone behaved abnormally, but recalling officers during ongoing operations proved challenging. Although leaders contemplated making these findings public, they feared it would incite widespread panic. The prospect of soldiers questioning whether their commanding officers were Yoma loomed, risking a potential breakdown of the entire chain of command. This could trigger internal witch hunts, a catastrophic scenario that needed prevention. Therefore, investigations persisted discreetly. Ultimately, they discovered that these Yoma, distinct from typical Mononoke ghouls, exhibited organized group behavior with clear aspirations of conquest on a global scale.
Moreover, their strength is extraordinary. In our empire, we employ a kaikyu, an apparition scale, to gauge the prowess of mystical beings. Even the weakest among these adversaries rank at the high end of this scale. It's astounding. They pose a genuine threat, formidable opponents challenging even advanced swordsmen or spellcasters.
The apparition scale, featuring 6 ranks from top to bottom: Shinbutsu, gods and Buddhas; Kiryu, demon dragons; Ten, Yo, heavenly ghouls; high yokai, mid yokai, and low yokai. Classified those in the bottom 2 ranks as Chimi Morio, evil spirits linked with rivers and mountains. The range between high yokai and Tenyo Wazaki Risetsu, the man-eating fiends. With these Yoma, even the least powerful foot soldiers held a Tenyo class standing. Kondou and his troops discovered this during their suicide mission against the enemy fleet, and despite being defeated by the ringleader, their intelligence prevailed.
Kondou made an assessment, suggesting that Reagan and Lee were both classified as Kuryu, or higher on the apparition scale, and I strongly concur with that evaluation.
Why is that?
Because Kondou was undeniably one of the most formidable warriors in the land of the rising sun.
Even during the conclusive assault, Kondou's expertise remained exceptional. Mastery of the Oboro Shinmei Ryu's ultimate technique, Battle Will, equipped him with combat proficiency comparable to a Kiryu class. If that still fell short of securing victory, it was likely due to the 2-against-1 scenario.
Yes, that man certainly possessed that level of skill.
Huh? Have you encountered Tatsuya by any chance?
I have, Ridra. Kondou served you personally in my world, as well.
Me, and yes, you mentioned this Rudra shared the same soul as I do.
Precisely. And even there, Kondou fought on your behalf, meaning a noble demise in the process.
The emperor lapsed into silence, uncertain of the appropriate words. The profound disappointment stemming from the loss of a devoted servant weighed heavily on him.
Oh dear, not Kondou.
Minamoto stood in a daze, seemingly unable to grasp the reality. Such was the exceptional skill of Kondou as a swordsman. A part of him had harbored a hope that Kondou might be alive, serving as their ultimate defense against the Yoma. Confronting the undeniable truth left him at a loss for the next steps.
A regrettable turn. I was holding on to the hope that Kondou might still be alive.
Tensei, Minamoto's mentor, maintained his composed and detached exterior, yet internally, he grappled with the effort to conceal the sorrow of losing that final glimmer of hope. It was imperative for a man in his authoritative position to exhibit composure, avoiding any signs of being flustered or uncertain. He adhered to discipline, recognizing that, of all people, he bore the greatest responsibility to remain poised. Everyone accepted Velgrin's narrative unquestioningly. It was a curious realization that, as she recounted Kondou's final moments, an inherent sense of truth permeated her words. Simultaneously, while sharing the story, Velgrin assessed the strength of their current adversary.
If Kondou, defeated before his journey to our realm, was their opponent, perhaps this Tenyo rank isn't as formidable as it sounds? They likely refer to phantoms when mentioning Yoma, and it seems like no threat to me, but, I mustn't lower my guard. Making judgments without a scale is imprudent. Let's observe how this unfolds.
Velgrin exuded immense confidence, fitting for an almighty true dragon. However, her encounter with Rimuru had instilled a sense of vigilance. While deeming it nearly impossible for these Yoma to pose a challenge, she reserved her final judgment for when more information became available. In reality, her assessments at this juncture were both accurate and flawed. The magicule concentration in this world was low, preventing the existence of particularly potent monsters.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Chad Vota, Chris Guzman, Jason Martin, John M., John Charles, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Dragon Spawn 666, J Rule, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Ekotski. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.